What's up, everyone? I'm back with another episode of the Keep Going podcast. Today, my guest name is Miss Lacretia Mitchell. She's a real estate broker with LM Realty here in Oklahoma City. She started LM Realty about a year ago, and it has really flourished. She's been in real estate for years and is really just a very interesting woman. She always keeps God first, takes care of her family, and stays on track with her business. I think this conversation will motivate you and also give you a little insight to what this type of life can provide, but also kind of the hills and valleys that you go through. This one was a real joy. I really appreciate her asking me a bunch of questions as well. I think you all will love it. As always, keep going. I really like the setup.
Thank you.
It looks really good.
This is my baby. It was just one of those things like, okay, God, what are we doing? You want me to do what? Like, I did not want to be a broker. I'll be honest with you. Like, I love just real estate and being out in the streets with the folks. So to have to manage people was not my thing. So anyway, yeah.
No, I get it. It's LM Realty?
LM Realty.
I like that you bring up God that fast because you literally have this Lead Like Jesus book on your desk. That makes me ask him. I don't want to get too far ahead.
Yeah.
First off, I appreciate you doing this with me, Lacretia. I know it's not, you said it was an honor for you as well, but it means a lot to me that you were interested. So I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
But as far as real estate in general, has it always been here in Oklahoma? Are you from Oklahoma?
I am born and raised Southside.
Okay. Where at?
So 44th and Walker is where I grew up.
Yeah, the real South Side.
The real South Side. And I went to first of all, I got kicked out.
Went to Webster?
I went to Webster, yeah. So went to Webster Middle School, then went to Southeast High School.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm a Southside kid.
That's awesome.
I have East Side roots. All of my grandparents are actually on the East Side of Oklahoma City. So yeah.
Did you do anything else before real estate, or did you just get into that and stick with it?
Oh man, I've done so many things.
Okay, so real estate was later on?
Yeah, real estate has been the last thing, honestly.
When did it start?
So 2019.
So it is new.
Yeah, it's very new. So let me back up because a lot of people say you're a jack of all trades, and I'll be like, what? But I get it. Like I have my daddy's work ethic, so I just love working. But through all of that, the common thread was just serving people. And so anything where I could serve people, I love waitressing. I love making people happy. My first job was a car hop at Sonic. So, and that was a lot of fun.
Were you on the skates?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. There were sometimes we tried it, but it did not work for me. So I was
seems
tenacious.
dangerous, especially with the trays.
Yeah. And then you wasting food. So I'm like, no, that's not it. That's not it for me. But yeah, I've always been like, I've done everything you could possibly think of. I was in higher education. I have a master's degree in education.
Wow.
And then I worked for a church, which actually then after the church led to real estate, but I got fired from my church job.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Man. So it was just one of those things where I thought I would be there forever. And God was like, no, this ain't it.
It's funny that it has to be forced on you sometimes.
Oh man.
Because you won't rip the Band-Aid off.
Nope.
It's like, all right, well, I'll rip it off for you.
Nope. I would have probably still been there. I would have still been there, but that wasn't the plan. And so it was very devastating for me because, again, I thought that was going to be my forever job. And I remember going to bed at night crying because I'm like, Lord, all I want to do is serve you and work for you.
Wow.
And when that opportunity came and then it was taken, it was like, okay, what now? And God quickly showed me that ministry is not defined by you being behind four walls.
Yeah.
Ministry is in you. And so I'll be honest with you, doing what I do now, I'm able to reach way more people than I would have being behind those four walls.
Yeah, I believe it.
So getting fired from that job, I just kind of a seed was planted, go into real estate. And I'm like, okay, my grandma been telling me to do this, but I never had the time. And so other people had asked me about going into real estate and I was just like, nah. And so I was like, let me just do it. I don't have anything else to do. Let's just go for it.
Yeah.
And so I did. And let's see, September, I started the courses in 2019, took the exam in October of 2019. Started November of 2019 and got my first deal and been rocking and rolling.
So started on the realtor side.
Uh-huh.
What was your first deal? Was it a referral?
It was a referral. Someone saw
Congrats.
me. Yeah. Someone saw me on social media. I had been posting.
Wow.
Yeah. I had been posting like getting ready to take my test, getting ready to do this.
Oh, that's cool.
And it ended up being a friend. And I say a friend, but my mom's actually old boss at a job that she was at. His daughter reached out to me and was like, hey, can you sell our family home? And I was like, I would be honored. And so that was my first deal, was a listing. And I was like, okay, Lord, what are we doing? Come on.
Yeah. Well, that early, because a lot of people, I don't know the exact stat, but when I was training, people would always say 80% of realtors or something like that would quit in the first year. So to get your first deal early will help you stay more locked in.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like you're a dedicated person anyway. So if you wouldn't have got it, you would have stayed on the course. But I mean, getting a listing that early is nice because you have to go through a lot of steps on a listing side too.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're big on the presentations with the clients, correct?
Yeah, that's big for me. I'm a visual learner. I'm a visual person, right? And I love creativity. And so, you know, I think that's important when you are when you're presenting to your clients. It's not just about, okay, what I can do for you. Let me show you what I can do. But I also want to make it a totally different experience for all of my clients that walk through this door and say they want to work with me, right?
What does that look like?
So,
and I know it's different for each person, but how do you make it special? Because to a lot of people, they may get to a point where they're successful like yourself and it may turn into numbers.
Yeah. It's not numbers for me. It's not transaction. It's relational. And I think that's the key. It's really understanding every person that calls you, every person that knocks on your door and says that they want to work with you, really understanding them. And I want to know your why. I want to know your needs and your wants. I want to know about your family. Like, I want to know everything I possibly can when it comes to my clients. And I think that sets me apart and is the difference, because I'm very real in that. It's not just learning it to learn it. It's learning it to make sure that I can understand you and what you need. And I don't think people take time out to do that. One of the things that I've been saying is people first and the profit will come. Like, if you treat people well, people they'll get it. You know what I'm saying? They'll feel valued and known, and they'll want to come back, and they'll want to send their parents or their cousins or their aunts. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's about the relationship, developing that relationship and really learning as much as I possibly can about my clients.
Well, that's a huge thing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just saying that's so huge because with the relationship building, that is that referral base. And you're pretty much referral based most of the time, right?
I don't pay for any leads.
That's so successful. Yeah. Like, that's a hard thing to earn. Yeah. And for you to get it from the very beginning and then stick with it. Yeah. Is pretty exceptional.
I'm just honored. You know, I treat every person that comes to Elam, I treat them like the very first transaction that I've ever had. Right. Wow. And I think that's important, that you never lose sight of why you're doing it, but also the people that you're getting to serve. And so that's why I say people first. Like, if you put them first, then, you know, it becomes, I'm not going to say easy, but it becomes a breeze, like, especially if you love this.
So when you got after that first one and you're happy now, because you want to get a closing. I mean, that's what makes it feel real. I got really lucky too. We say lucky, but it's always God. Yeah. But I felt that it was luck at the time. I quit my job in new home sales, and the next day I went on a wholesale appointment and got a contract and got it moved. And I was like, okay, it works, but you never know because it's so risky. Yeah.
Now, where did you start off? I know this is your podcast.
I'd rather you ask me questions. You're fine. So
you started off in home sales.
Yeah, new home construction.
New home construction. Yeah. So what made you leave that to go into?
So I started at Roush Coleman. Yeah. And I was there with Tez and Kevin. Kevin and Tez are the ones that open Local Guys. Yes. And Kevin's the one that runs it. Okay. To this day. So I got on because Tez had said, hey, we should try this. He was already getting some success. Yeah. And as you very well know, you can reach out to as many folks as you want to try and bring them on to, you know, what's working for you. But it takes a specific person to listen. Yeah. And I just happened to be that person where I was like, well, I'm not happy working at Finish Line and having a laundry list of responsibilities, but a short list of income. Because you'll run a whole store there at the time. I mean, luckily I don't know what hourly wages are. Yeah. But at the time it was like $24,000 a year to manage almost everything.
Like thinking about that, that's like, I mean, I'm not saying it because there's some people that's made, but I mean, you think about it, back then that was a lot. Now that's like,
And even because that was 2016-ish, even then it was still a little tight just for the responsibilities. Now, if it was more come and go, then I would understand, but I just had a lot of baggage with it. But so I was ready to leave that, and I went to new home sales. Roush Coleman started to make sense. And then honestly, I was told to go to a new home orientation or not new home, that's something new construction, but new hire orientation. But I just wasn't mature enough. I was like, man, I don't want to go to that if I can go get a contract. So I just went and got the contract from this house in Mustang. And I just really didn't take it serious. It was just being immature. And then the following week, I get called into the office and like school. I get called into the office, and Kevin was the manager at the time. And he said, hey, the higher ups, HR and John Roush, the owner of the company, he just sat at the meeting, and the people that weren't there, because it was in Arkansas, he just crossed out their name and was like, hey, just terminate them if they can't be here. And I respect it because, of course, I should have went, but I wanted to do what I was doing. And Kevin, I mean, he did not want to fire me. I was only 3 months in, but was getting a little bit of leniency as far as getting to branch out and be in my own community. I was getting a lot of experience. But then it got ripped out from under me, and same thing, got fired. For a second, I was kind of hesitant, but Tez had reached out to me. He was like, no, you got to keep going. Like, you need to, don't quit, go to other home builders. Like, that's what his first thing was like, screw whatever we did, just go somewhere else, because you know you can do it. So I applied that day to maybe 6 or 7 new home sales, because at the time, that's all I knew. Because I knew being a realtor costed money, and I didn't know anything about investing. So all I knew was, well, new home sales, you don't pay anything and you get paid. So I was like, that's the most easy transition. So I go to a couple interviews, and I go to home creations. And I think that time pushed me into being more of a grown-up, because I had to own up to those mistakes. They're like, well, what happened here? And I was like, a month ago I got fired because of this. And so it gave me a lot of confidence to just be yourself. And then I started hustling at Home Creations and was able to move up the ladder pretty quick. There were still some established guys that had been there a long time, but I was up there with them. So I felt good. Hit my 6 figures, things like that. But then as soon as I hit that is when I noticed I wasn't fulfilled all the way there, because it was like maybe 40 to 50 hours a week.
A lot.
And that's just the model home. And then there's all that other stuff you have to do. So it was just too much. And then luckily, I mean, my saving grace in the business realm, Tez came by, him and Kevin, and said, hey, we're starting wholesale and you should come do this. But to Tez's credit, he said, hey, also, before you quit, you should get your real estate license, because if my business flops and this doesn't work, then at least you can make money doing something else. So I grind in the background for a summer, getting the courses done. And then I literally walked into the office at Home Creations and said, I'm ready to go. They try to keep those handcuffs on you. So they're like, well, look at all this money we have set up for you for 9 months. All of that. And I was nervous because I had just closed on my house, because Tess was like, well, if you're going to quit, you need to buy a house first, because then your income is going to change. So I talked to my lender, Gordon Chandler, and he was like, yeah, if you're going to do that, we need to get you a house now. So I get a house, quit my job, then a car wreck, had to get a new car. So all these things happened really fast. But the day after I quit my job, I got that wholesale opportunity and got it moved. So God was helping me push through it. But that was really the main thing. The benefit for the new home sales, though, was a lot of exposure into sales. Because I could only sell one product. I would get way more no's than yeses.
Yeah.
And I really had to build a relationship because it was new homes.
Yeah.
Because people will go to existing, and if they are new homes, they're shopping multiple builders.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to learn how to interact with customers from like cold. You know, they walk in the door and they don't want to talk to you, but it's your model home. So you have to. Yeah. But I had to learn to overcome that. I had to learn how to manage realtors, from nice, respectful ones like yourself or me, to uppity ones, to ones that know it all, to ones that think I'm not worth anything in the transaction, to the cool ones. Like, to their credit, I had a lot of cool ones that I still talk to today. Yeah. One of them that I always had a relationship with was William Mahan. Yeah. He always was cool when he came in to do his thing at Home Creations, and he's someone I kept with. Rock, you know, Ramen Bird.
I probably know his face. I don't know by name.
You would know. But there were several that, you know, I got accustomed to, but I think it helped me progress, because when I got into this realm on the realtor side, I did exactly what you did on the relationship side, where you got to take the time to build it. Yeah. I actually remember going to an investor breakfast, and I've told this story a million times, but it just means so much to me. There were two guys, and they said, you know, what works for you? And it's funny, they're asking me what works for me. And that was like my third month of being unemployed, or not unemployed, but you know.
Technically you are unemployed.
Yeah. So that was my third month of being, you know, semi-free. But I said exactly what you said. I said, when you stop looking at them as a transaction or as a paycheck, there tend to be more of them, because you have that good relationship with John and you can manage that, keep it moving. But then you have the capacity to go to other relationships because you have a good foundation with each client. Yeah. And I told them that, and one of them was like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah. And I loved it. I was like, okay, cool. The other guy was like, yeah, but like we have bills to pay and stuff. Like, what do we do? And that just always stuck with me, because everyone I've talked to, like yourself or anyone in the real estate space, when they say something like that, don't think of it as, you know, money. Think of it as this. Yeah. They're the ones that are successful. They're the ones open their own brokerage. They're the ones staying busy, especially in a changing climate for realtors where stuff is changing all the time.
For sure. All the time. Goodness gracious. Just hearing that, you know, and just your story, I don't think even the first time we met, you shared that with me. But no.
Can you believe that was 3 years ago?
I know, it's crazy.
I looked at it yesterday when we confirmed. Yeah. And I scrolled through my Instagram and saw where we had met and had coffee, and I was like, 2021, really?
I know. That was crazy. I feel like I was like a baby in the world, in the real estate world at that time.
You were successful on the transaction side, but even then you were telling me like what you were wanting to build. So did you stay pretty consistent once you got that first deal? Yeah. So I kind of got, I wasn't being fulfilled, I felt. Even though I had that first transaction, it was a weird experience. Where I was at, and I'm not going to say names, but where I was at, I was getting the training that I need, but it was like, okay, now what do I do with this training? Because no one was showing me, okay, how you actually apply it to the real world, right? To transactions, to people. And so I was like, okay. And I ended up running into Arlesia Briles, who's another phenomenal GOAT in the real estate industry. We ended up running into each other the year prior to me seeing her this time that I'm about to tell you about. So our daughters were getting their hair braided at this place, and we sat down and we just kind of started talking. And I was like, it's like I've known you like forever. And so we were asking each other what we were doing. I told her I worked for a church. She was in real estate at the time. And I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, well, I had lost her number. And so that it was a year later, literally. And my daughter was like, okay, Mom, we got to go to the appointment. I was like, okay. And I was thinking in my head, what if I run into this lady again? This would be so amazing. Yeah. I kid you not, I ran into her the day I thought it. So we ran into each other and we just kind of started catching up. And I told her. This is after you're in it?
Yeah. Okay. And I told her I was in real estate, and she was like, where are you at? And I told her, and she was like, you should come and talk to my broker. And I was like, nah, I'm good, you know. And I was like, well, maybe let me think about it, you know. So ended up meeting with the broker, and that changed my life. That first year ended up, as far as volume, was 2.7. And it wasn't because of, I feel like the leads, it was just because of the mentorship that particular broker provided.
So you switched?
I switched.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that stood out? Was it mindset? Was it how they treated people? What was it?
All of that.
Okay.
And she was willing to hold my hand and help me to learn. Like, I am a very, like, I want to know everything I possibly can and learn everything I possibly can. And so she was willing to do that. She was willing to take the time out, 12 o'clock at night, dealing with the transaction. You know what I mean? Like, really
I don't think people understand how important those people are. I still have people I call now late when it's needed.
Yeah.
You know?
I think I'll be honest with you, and I owe this to her, Heather Sheepler, right? And I believe my success would have definitely been delayed had I not encountered her. Yeah. Had I not been under her leadership. That's how great she is. She's the type of person that will literally make everybody around her better. And that's what I aspire to do, you know.
How long were you with them before you decided to open your own brokerage?
So I was with Heather because I left a couple times chasing the little shiny carrot over here. Okay.
Oh, so you were bouncing around.
I was bouncing around.
Just finding better splits and things like that.
Yeah, just trying to see, you know, opportunities. So I left her the first time I was with her, probably 2 years at that point, a year and a half maybe. Went over to a big company, you know, we'll give you this revenue sharing, blah, 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 all the things, right? Create you a team, you know, you'll have a team up under you. And immediately, like, I wasn't there probably 2 months and I was like, yep, this ain't it.
Yeah.
Went back to Heather.
Okay.
And then
that speaks to the relationship.
And then another opportunity came, luxury homes, all of these things. And I was like, I want an opportunity to kind of just see what that world is like, right? So I left again and went over to this other brokerage. And from there, I learned so much. Like, there were conversations being had at the tables that I felt like I would never have heard, you know, or learned had I stayed where I was at. And so I learned so much under that brokerage. And then from there, Elam was conceived.
Okay. So you were ready to go after that last switch.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's it like starting your own brokerage?
Man. Listen,
it's got to be hard, right? I mean, that's a light word to give it, but it's got to be a lot of steps first.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of other moving parts also.
Oh, man. There's so much on the back end that people don't understand. And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't a whole lot of people knocking at my door willing to share, you know, or even when I reached out, wasn't a whole lot of people willing to share and step me through it. But there have been a few. And so I definitely appreciate them. But it was just one of those things where I just kind of had to learn as I go. Just paperwork, the E&O insurance, like all of the things that you have to put together so that you can have this brokerage, right?
Yeah. And when did you start it?
December, actually on my birthday. Grand opening was December the 8th. As far as documentation, it was, I believe, November of last year. So still
fairly new.
Fairly new.
How many agents do you have?
2 right now.
Okay.
2 right now. So I'm excited. I'll be honest with you. I'm excited to see what God is going to do through it. He's already kind of gave me glimpses of the future. And so I'm just like, okay, Lord, whenever you're ready, just let me know.
I'm curious, what does that look like when you get glimpses? Like, what do you mean? For someone that may not get those moments.
So let me say this. I believe there are certain people in this world that have the opportunity to get these, right? Yeah. And I think there are certain people that have been chosen to do certain things in this world, right? And for me, my glimpses come in like dreams or deja vu moments, like I've seen it before. And the only way that honestly I'm able to experience these is if I'm really tapped into him, right?
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point in my life where it's not about my will anymore. I know that I'm not on this earth for me, right? I'm on this earth to help serve other people and show them the love of God and show them what it looks like, right? To come from nothing and have this something, right?
Yeah.
And so God is using me in a way that would probably scare a lot of people. And I know people think I'm crazy sometimes when I talk about it. It's at times hard to explain. But for the most part, like I am tapped into him where I don't care about anymore. It's not about, okay, God, I want to do this. I want to do that. It's what do you want me to do? What is it that you have for me? And just being tapped into his word and readings and about leadership and all of those things, and just making sure that I surround myself around people that understand that I'm not about the foolery. Like, don't come to me and start gossiping. I'm not going to talk about somebody. Like, I don't do any of that. So I try to really stay in this zone so that I can experience those moments, those visions, right? At all times.
You're keeping all your connections very clean.
Very clean.
Yeah.
I'm very guarded. So I don't do a lot of the things that I used to do anymore, you know? And it wasn't at first when it started happening, I'm like, God, but I really want to be around that person. Or I really want to do this. And now I really don't have the desires anymore, you know? Like, I pray for God to take that away from me. So
and that's
that
like just events, going to certain places, certain groups, activities.
Correct. Who is it that you want me to align with? Who is it that you want me to connect with? You send them and help me and give me the discernment that I need to recognize those people, right? So it's a little bit different for me. So when I get these visions, I know that it's him, because anything else is either confusing or discombobulated. Like, I know that God is not the author of confusion, so I know it's not him.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And so me staying in that zone, it takes a lot of work. But if you know me and you follow me, you know I'm about God, my family, and my business. Mm-hmm. And if it comes to my family, you know, or having to go and do something else, like, my family is going to always come first. So that's really who I'm always around and who I surround myself with. And I just keep myself guarded so that I can recognize those visions and those people that he wants me to connect with. So
what's it like to stay guarded but still be open to make these connections? Because you and I, even though we don't see each other every day, mm-hmm. I feel very connected with mm-hmm. you. So how do you like keep your guard up but still make genuine connections? Are you filtering someone and they pass a couple mental checks to where you're like, okay, yeah, they're allowed to pass the wall? Mm-hmm. Or like, what does that look like? Because I think that's smart to be mature enough and aware enough to control your group, but also to still get new connections. Yeah. Because you think it wouldn't be able to do both, but you can.
You can. It's just a different way that I approach people and things, right? So, and here we go, we're going to get churchy, and I'm not going to apologize for it because God is the head of my life and I'm going to share that.
I would like you to be whoever you want to be.
So, I've always had a gift of discernment, which has allowed me to recognize who's for me and who's not for me. Right.
And for someone that doesn't know discernment, the understanding of, and just being able to see things for what they really are. And recognizing those things, right? And recognizing those people. So I feed off of energy. Okay. So if you walk into my space, most of the time I can immediately tell if you have bad intentions or good intentions, right? And so for me, if I know that you're coming in with bad intentions, bad energy, whatever, then I'm able to control myself, right? Because I'm the only person I can control. Okay. And so I'm able to control myself, still show you the love of God, still help in whatever way I can to the point where God, you know, far as what that may look like, far as, okay, we're not going to be like if somebody came in here, let me give you an example. Somebody came in here and was like, hey, you know, I want to be an agent for Elam, right? Let's talk real estate. Yeah.
And I feel that energy, right? That it's not going to be a good fit. This ain't right. You know what I'm saying? Then I'm able to navigate through that conversation, still encouraging them, still empowering them, still making sure that when they walk out this door, they feel valued and known and believe in the direction in which they want to go as far as real estate, but it's not with Ella. Okay. So I typically can feel that with people. And it's just a gift that I've been given. So it's easy for me to be able to recognize those things and move forward and not feel bad about it. If that answers your question.
Okay. No, it does. To be okay with, those decisions.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
So like I see on your social media quite a bit, you always have kind of a little schedule of what you're doing. And the other day I saw where it said you were at an appointment early. I think it was like 8 a.m. for something you were prepping, which I thought was awesome in itself. I was like, wow, this lady's a broker, but she's showing up to do some prep for one of her clients, and it's like 7 something in the morning on a Sunday. But then you said you had church with, your husband and things like that. So I think it's important because a lot of times people will say, like, in business realm, it's like no religion, no politics or something. But all the people I have the best conversations with, God is always involved. So when you are filtering that out and you start getting those connections that are not better, because every connection is what it's supposed to be. But I bet that even keeps you more on track, because you're like, no, I'm only getting positivity. I'm only getting encouragement. I'm only getting steps forward. How do you keep that balance between work, family, God? I know it's luckily from your perspective, you've been able to blend them all.
Yeah.
But how do you find a balance to where you're not getting burnt out with being such a high performer?
Oh, that's a great question. Just being disciplined in my schedule and knowing my priorities, right?
Is the schedule side daily or weekly? You plan everything, or how does that work?
I'll be honest with you. So Sunday, what I do, and this is crazy, but I'll tell my daughter, it's my middle daughter. She always got something going on, right? I'm like, put in my calendar what you got for the week. And then that way I can kind of plan around, right? And she works, she's getting ready to go off to OU, like all these things, right? My oldest daughter is more chill. She can drive, she can do her thing. She only needs me if it's a doctor's appointment. And then my baby, she is very much a baby. She's at home. Sometimes she'll go out to a friend's house. But for me, it's about priorities, right? So God first, family second, and business third. Okay. So business never supersedes my family or God. Okay. And so I take in, if I have meetings or whatever, it all goes in my calendar. And then from there, I kind of, just work around the schedule, but knowing that my day shuts off at a certain time. And I know that's hard for real estate, because it's like, if you have a client that needs to go see a house at 6, then I'll have to just kind of work around it.
But have you always been like that on the schedule? Because I felt it took me a while to turn it off.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, yeah. Good. I mean, because I have 3 girls, they've all been pretty active. So I've had to have some type of schedule. But honestly, a lot of my days are really kind of spontaneous. Like if I have some things going on, there are still spontaneous moments throughout that. Like if I need to, go do something or take a moment for myself, I do that. But I think it's huge. I think it's important just to kind of make sure that you keep track and put the priorities first, and then everything else comes after that.
It makes me think that, from just a business perspective, someone may think, well, if I'm putting all these things in my calendar first, but then business opportunities pop up and I'm not taking those, am I missing out on income or all that? But it's not. It's like, no, you just have set priorities. So what you are supposed to get, you will. But those things you can't, they're just not for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and for the most part, most of the time, like if those opportunities come up and it works in the schedule, then yeah. Or we find a way to make it work. You know what I'm saying? Like just being willing to be flexible if needed. And I think that helps, because nothing is ever guaranteed, right? And so I have to make sure that I can be flexible throughout the day as well, because things happen.
So on the real estate side, then you've been 2019. We're coming up on 5-6 years of it. Ooh. You feel pretty established now to where you have a good system on everything?
Yeah. I think so. I'll be honest with you. The other day, I was like, oh my God, I'm drowning. Like I just had that much going on.
Yeah.
So just so you know, I have the real estate brokerage firm, right? I have this whole thing going on. I'm still real estate and I'm still out in the street showing homes, listing properties, right? And then my husband and I also invest in properties. We acquire lots and we work with the builder to build. So that's a whole nother business. And then I'm getting ready to start up another business. So, it's just a lot.
So you have to have cutoff times so you won't be able to make it.
Oh my goodness, yes. And I'm now realizing the importance of scaling and leveraging those around me. And I know that I now need probably a team, which is a whole nother thing that I'm going to have to address as far as hiring people, all of those things. And so that's going to be a different venture, but.
How does it work on the investing side with those lots? Has that been going well?
It's been going really well. So we have one that's getting ready to be built over by OU Health Science Center, and that'll be a 1,800 square foot home. And then we're under contract with another lot off of Northeast 26th Street. So we're going to start that hopefully in the next few months. The other build has started now. They're actually going to break ground probably tomorrow, if the rain holds up.
Yeah.
And then we're just always looking for what's smart, for us, what makes sense. So we're always looking for opportunities like that. I'll be honest with you. We did our first investment property was a flip in Guthrie. And I was just like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't like the unknown, right? I don't like going into a project. If you tear down a wall, there's mold, or I don't like that. I like new construction where I get to control most of it, right? And I can create and design and do all of those things. So I love new construction, to be honest.
So it's a better product for you to have the lot and the new build control that. That's how you control your margins better than getting a discounted deal.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And we get good pricing. We still get discounts on the land situation, but,
right. And that's from referrals?
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. Well, was it a referral? No, none of ours has been with a referral.
Okay. So you have partnerships on these lots.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of new builds in that area.
Yeah.
I mean, you see quite a bit. I listed one and we sold it, and you wouldn't think it Kellum.
Yeah.
And 17th.
Okay. Yeah.
You wouldn't think they'd be selling something for $245.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a new build,
It's
and we
happening.
moved it, but it's slow, but it's coming. And I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks nice in those areas. It's just, you only have two on the street. Mm-hmm. So that's always an interesting dynamic too.
Yeah. One of the things that I definitely want to start doing, because that's how our build was off of East Hill. We ended up listing it for $245. It actually moved pretty quick. It was only on the market for the weekend.
Oh, nice.
And we were able to get it under contract. But I think it's important to, especially if you're starting to build in areas where there's already existing homes, to really kind of start developing relationships with the community and with those around. And so that's what I want to definitely start doing, going and knocking on doors, having conversations with people. What is it that you want to see over here? What is it that you feel we need? Just really getting to know the neighbors and those around, just to kind of build those relationships. Because from that, you never know. You can get more referrals. You can get somebody saying, oh, well, my grandpa's lot over here, it's been sitting. Can y'all help us build? Yes, for sure.
Yeah, because a lot of people, and some people look at it in a bad way where they're like, well, no, that's just too expensive for this area and these people aren't going to afford this, but it's a benefit when the mindset is correct and the relationships are correct. It's a benefit for everyone involved. So where when it's not someone like yourself that's into that, it may be more of just numbers. And then you're looking at bad deals.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's important, especially, and we talk about the East Side, and I know we've heard gentrification and all of these things, right? One of the things that I do, if I get a call in this area on the East Side of Oklahoma City, we're going to have a conversation of, do you really want to sell the home? Because we know what's going on over there. It's being developed, revitalized, whatever you want to call it, right? Yep. And so in the next few years, the value of that home will be totally different. And so how can we help you to keep the home, right? And be able to build the equity and use that later down the line, or just continue to build generational wealth. Like, those are the conversations that I want to have versus selling someone's home over in that area.
So some of the sellers that you talk to directly, it'll be more of a, well, you should wait.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm a little different.
Yeah.
I'm a little different. And I've actually had several conversations like that with people, not just on the east side, but hey, listen, it does not make sense right now. Let's sit for a second. Right. I think that's important for people to, a lot of people in our industry, they're like, okay, you want to list? Let's go, get the commission, whatever.
Yeah. Cause you would think, let's get it on the market.
Yeah. No. And I'm going to tell you whether now is a good time, or if we need to wait, or if there's something new coming in the area, that will possibly help the value of your home. Like, let's have that conversation. I'm not always the one that's going to say, yeah, let's list your property.
How do you have that foresight on areas? What type of research do you like to do?
So, one is just building those connections with leaders in the area, that know what's going on. You got city planning meetings. Like, there's so many opportunities to find out what's going on. And so I'm going to tell anybody that's listening now, like, start going to your HOA meeting, start going to your city council meeting, start going to all those things so that you can find out what is getting ready to start happening in and around your area. And that will help you to get a better idea of just what's going on and if it's the right time to buy or sell in that particular area. So,
well, switching subjects then.
Yeah.
Your husband is super cool. Every time I meet him, he's really nice. And you all, and I'm going like I've just known you forever, but social media speeds it up.
Yeah.
Because you get a little bit more insight. Since high school?
Middle school.
So Webster?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've known him since Webster. And we dated our senior year. It's crazy because we just talked about the other night, like, what if we would have stayed together, that's my best friend. Like, I love that man. When you're in a relationship, it's give and take, right? But I implore anybody out there when you're in a relationship, you want somebody that's going to make you a better version of you, right? That encourages you and pushes you to be the best you can possibly be.
That belief is huge.
Man. And that man does that for me. And I pray that I do that for him, right? We've done so much together, just building our businesses and just everything, that our kids are just a testament of God's goodness. And yeah, I love that man. That's my best friend.
It seems like it should be known how important that is. But even for myself, until I found someone that fit that criteria, it doesn't seem like it's real.
Yeah.
Because you'll have relationships or have people and it only goes so far. Mm-hmm. But then you meet a certain person and you're like, why is it just easy? Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that was, well, duh, that's when it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Just whether you have a history of different types of home life or whatever love looks like to you, you have all these views.
Yeah.
But then you find someone that just gets you. And it's crazy to get a better version of yourself. Man. You didn't know that someone else does that
for you. Yeah. It's a weird thing. Like, when it first started happening, like, I was just like, okay, like, this is different. This is different from all the relationships I've had. How he spoke into me, how he loved me through. Like, I came with some baggage. So when we got back together, so, just the experiences that we've been through just has made us even more stronger. Mm-hmm. And I pray that everybody gets to experience something like that. I do. It's just a wonderful feeling.
Special.
Now, don't get me wrong. He gets on my nerves. Okay.
Oh, I bet.
And it's not always easy, but it's fun. And I'm excited to do another 50-something years with this man.
Remind me his name.
Chai,
that's what it is. I don't know why I forget, because it's the coolest name.
Yeah.
It makes me think when you say it's not easy, because I feel like when it's the right person, and I'm still young myself, so I talk like I know these things, but it's just from my experience.
Yeah.
But it's always more conversational than it is combative or nitpicking or anything like that. Every time it is a conversation that needs to be had, it's like, oh no, that was needed for both of us. And then you're pushing forward to where maybe in my past relationships or even this one now, we've been married some years, but in the beginning it was still tough and it was more of that combative. And you're like, no, you're just a human trying to make it work for yourself. And I'm trying to do that. And we're trying to do it together. Once you realize, I think it's not me or you, it's us. It starts moving it a little further, especially in our style of business where the hours are different and the stress levels are different. I think that support at home is huge.
Man.
So you all carve out quite a bit of time?
Yeah. So our schedules are kind of off from each other. So he works Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. And so, I already know, like, I'm up early, I'm going. So we don't get a whole lot of time during the week together. We have moments where we've started now walking at night if he gets off early enough with our dogs. And so I love that time. But most of our time is on the weekend. So
which makes that even more sacred.
Man. And it's hard in real estate. It's harder, right? Because that's kind of our go time too, is the weekends, right? Open houses, showing homes. So it's just being intentional with my schedule, and just making sure, like I told him last week, I was like, I'm taking you out on date Saturday. So we went out on a date. But just
it's crazy. I bet he felt great because my wife did that one time. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Where'd you guys go?
Othello's in Edmond.
Nice.
Yeah. And then there's around midnight, the little coffee shop / they had music playing, everything, or a musician in there. So it's like a coffee shop / bar area. So
in
we
Edmond?
went there.
Is it Ellis Island?
No. So Othello's is on the east side of, what is that, Broadway Street. And around midnight is on that. It's right next door to it.
Oh, that's what it's called.
It's around midnight.
I thought it was that time.
No.
I was like, y'all were up late.
No. No. So yeah, it was right there. So we just went and ate, and then we went over to the bar area. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, you got to. It's a really nice area.
Something I struggle with. So I just want to pick your brain because I feel like you've definitely had some experience in it. I know I can carve out the time, but how do you be where your feet are and not think of the deals? And then, because in my past and sometimes now as well, it's not like I don't do it now, but I'm a lot better with it. But there were times where it's like, okay, I really want to be with the family, but then you're there and you're like, oh, I got to be working. But then you want to go to work, it's back with the family. So how do you enjoy that time? Is it just silent, don't touch it? Or are you able to balance both?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm still struggling with it.
It's hard, right?
It's hard. It's definitely hard. So when we, even like Saturday when we went out on a date, I was intentional about during our dinner time, like not being on it, right?
Yeah.
But we went over to the bar and we were waiting on our drinks, and I got a call, and it actually ended up being some new clients. And I was like, I don't recognize this number, babe. I gotta take this. And thank God I did, because now we're working, trying to find a home. And so he understands that. I definitely want to get better at that, because my kids will tell you, like, Mom, put down, they'll tell you, like, we're always telling her, put down her computer or put down the phone. And so I have moments that I'm like, okay, what are we doing tonight, y'all? We watching our show. Let's go. Like, in those moments, it is put away. But there's times where I still struggle with it. I'm not gonna lie.
No.
It's hard, especially in our business. Like,
no, I think that honesty is huge.
Yeah. You never know. So I just have to be really intentional and just make sure that I'm taking time out for them and that I'm very present. And, I don't know if so did you see that I lost my phone in the ocean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did see that actually.
So that actually helped me to like really disconnect from that point on. Like, I've been, like, if I can go without my phone for a whole week, then I can go without it for a couple of hours.
Well, what's wild is I bet when you got your phone back,
and
not much had changed.
Yeah.
Not saying you didn't have stuff to answer.
Yeah.
But it was okay.
Yeah. I was almost, honestly, when I got it back, I was almost like, dang, to be honest with you. Like.
Well, that's God again.
Yeah.
He said, you won't listen to me? Bow. Throw it in the ocean.
Throw it in the ocean. And I, even now, like, I don't have to be on it. I choose to be on it.
Yeah. But that understanding is good, because I know he was like, yeah, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Because earlier I was on the phone. She was asking me something. I said, hey, I'm on a call. And she's like, okay, cool. But if I would have been like, hey, I'm on a call.
Yeah.
Then it's a
your
problem.
tone. Yeah,
but
that's how you
it's
say
like,
it.
no, I'm on a call real quick, and then we can go back to what we're doing.
Yeah.
that helps it so much, because sometimes that was probably a 5-minute call, right? You just had to introduce yourself, build a relationship, and set an appointment.
Yeah.
Move on. So if you wouldn't have answered, then they're down the line to someone else. So that's nice that you have a balance to not only time block, but still produce.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel bad about that, but then I'm like, okay, you send 5 text messages, it took you 10 minutes, and that might be several $1,000s.
Yeah.
And you're still having dinner.
Yeah.
You can still put it down after that and move on.
Right.
So there is a balance to it.
It's a balance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is definitely a balance.
That's funny that your kids say that, though. But I bet they're happy, and when you do take that time.
Yeah. Oh, they are. They love it. My little kids, I say they're little, they're not little, but they understand what I'm doing. And sometimes I can tell when it's like, Mom, we could care less. And so I definitely step away from the business. But I've been very intentional about my time with my girls now, because our oldest she'll graduate next year, and she'll go off probably out of state for her master's. And then our middle daughter is going to OU. So they will all be out of the home in the next month to year. And so for me, I will never probably get that time back. And so I do everything I can to just cherish the moment right now. So yeah, I don't do a whole lot. It's family right now for me. It's family and business. And yeah.
But that is a lot. Because I tell myself the same. Like, no, I don't do a lot. But it's like sometimes I told my wife this the other day. At the end of the day, I got home, I was taking a shower thinking about it. And I was like, you got to do this today. You sold a house. You got a contract on something else. Yeah. You went to lunch with her. You walked your dogs. You got to do a hobby for like an hour. I'm like, that's so much. Yeah. I'm like, I need to stop being a punk. Yeah. Because at some point you're looking at it and you're like, oh, I could have done more here. It's like, man, you did like 6 really moving the needle type things. Like it's a marathon.
But you're probably an overachiever, right?
Yeah, probably.
Like you love the grind, you love going, you love being busy. So for you, it seems like it's nothing, but it really is something.
No, and that's what's helped my mindset with it is it has been rewarding.
Yeah.
And something I thought about when you were saying your daughters tell you to put the phone away, or you put it away because it's movie time or something. It actually makes me, because being present is hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But when I am going to do something and I put the phone away, I'm almost more present, not than the people I'm with because they're locked in as well. But I feel like for myself, I'm way more present than I would have been.
Yeah.
Because it's just impossible to not see these fires and think you got to put them out right now. But I've actually enjoyed being able to take that because you're like, no, these 3 hours, I'm not doing anything but this fun activity. It's rewarding. Yeah. Because then you watch that show, but if you would have been watching that show and working, you don't even remember anything.
You can't even, yeah. I love it. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I love my kids. So like I said, I cry every other day thinking about how life is about to change, you know. But I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to be in the land of the living, doing what I do, being able to serve people. And I know God has me here as a light in this real estate industry, to just show what it can look like for somebody like me, right? Yeah. I'm a Black woman in Oklahoma, right? Yeah. In real estate. And so I want to be the example. I want to be excellence. You know, I want people to look and say, okay, wait, you know, I've heard they're like this, you know, or I've heard it's like this working with them. I want to show them different, you know. I want young people that are coming in the real estate industry to know, hey, you can consider me the auntie if you want to. Yeah. Right. And anything that you need, I'm here. I don't know it all. And I'm very honest and upfront about that. Like, I don't know everything. I just had a conversation with another broker yesterday asking her a question about a document. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm real about that. So I don't know everything. Shout out to Serena at SALT. And, you know, so I'm very aware and I'm very honest about those things, which I think people see the authenticity in me, right? Yeah. But I want everybody to do great. I want them to win. I want them to be the best versions of themselves. So if you are listening, I'm always here, as just a resource. as somebody to encourage you, to push you. I just want to be something that's a little bit different than what's being seen or what has been seen in real estate in Oklahoma.
Why is that so important to you for other people, though? I see, and I'm not trying to embarrass you. I think it's beautiful that, emotion comes out when you think of that. But what makes that important to you to want someone else to be the best version of themselves?
It's just who I am. It's always what I've wanted because I've watched people minimalize themselves, right? Because of what they thought others thought of them or expected from them. And I was actually that person. Like, I don't want to shine too much, Well,
you took the words out of my mouth because when I asked you that question, I asked it because the only reason that could be important to you is because there had to be a time when you weren't the best version of yourself.
Oh, lots of times. Lots of times I wasn't. And now operating as my best self every day, I see the difference that it makes. It's this. Like Elam wouldn't have happened. Lacretia Mitchell Real Estate wouldn't have happened if I did not show up as the best version of myself. And so I think it's important for people to understand who they are. And the only way you know who you are is if you know whose you are, right? Yeah. So I know that I am a child of God. I am there, and I have just as much power because he gave it to me, right? As he did, right? And so if I'm tapping into him and I'm tapping into their source, there's no reason why I can't show up each and every day as my best self. And I want everybody to experience that, right? And so that's why I move the way I do. People ask me, well, do you see competition? No, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm competing with myself each and every day to get up out of bed. Okay. Yeah. I'm competing with myself each and every day to be the best version of myself. I don't have time to worry about what you're doing, what so-and-so is doing over here, or trying to be better than the other. It's not about that. It's about being the best version of myself. And I think once we all get to that point, which I'm hopeful, right? Once we all get to that point, I think it would just be a way better world. You wouldn't deal with people in real estate industry that think they know everything or too goody two shoe or cuss you out or whatever. Like, we wouldn't deal with that if people operated in their lane and continue to fight to be the best version of themselves and not compete with everybody else.
It makes me think of that event we got blessed to speak at, the OKC Evolve, because I was like, man, because there were probably almost 30 speakers. I was like, how is this whole group great? And not that you wouldn't expect that. But I'm talking to people I've never met, and I'm like, no, they care about how they treat themselves. And to a lot of people, that's nothing. Me even saying that, they're just like, psh, they just move on. But all these people treat themselves personally very, very well. And I grew up not taking care of myself. You don't look out for yourself in those moments. You don't take time to not get burnt out or spend time with your husband or your kids. And I'm looking at all these high performers, and you're seeing people from different walks of life, whether it's race, whether it's age, area, the place you grew up at, what you started with, what you're ending with. And it's impressive, and it just speaks to God's will that we could be in a room like that. Because not only were all the people in there great that were soaking it up, but late after, I was like, man, I probably should have networked a little more because I only wanted to be around the speakers. And it wasn't in a selfish way. I felt so blessed to talk to these folks because I'm like, whether they're 22 or 52, they're all in this different lane, but they all have the same values. I'm talking to Carlos Reyes or Rich Wonders, the Novation King, and their values are exactly what mine are. And I'm like, that's huge. The same as yours. Oh, well, me, I've got God, family, then this. I've got God, family, then this. God, family, then this. And you see that and you're like, yeah, whether you make 50,000, 20,000 or $1 million, if your values are there, you'll stay consistent.
That's good.
Because I see people, and this isn't in a gossiping way, it's more of just awareness. I see people that are highly successful And then I never have one good convo with them if I do meet them in person. And then I meet these people at that event that I have no idea who they are, and they're treating me like family, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really a blessing, but it was also motivating to know, because I've been in real estate since 2016, 17-ish. But I was like, yeah, you made the right move.
Yeah.
It's funny to get that validation, but you're like, no, when you're growing up trying to get into good groups of people, and then you get into them in adulthood and you find actual people that care about the next person, I think it's way more important than people, take it for.
Yeah.
Like I said, we don't see each other all the time, but you're family to me, and I don't even spend time with you like that. Yeah. But if I were to see you, if you ever needed anything, if you needed something from me, and I just think that's what's missing, probably. Because when you say competition, I see people posting things all the time about deals or closings or numbers, and it's always been an excitement.
And you're happy for them.
Yeah. Yes. I'm like, wow. And they still have kids, and they eat well and stuff. Wow.
Wow.
Like, that's good. That's
like,
good.
I'm proud of them. Like, and that's where I hope all of us can be, right? And I think because we have similar values, you want to see people win, right? We want to see people win, no matter who they are, right? Just going back to Oklahoma City Evolve, like, that event was like, it blew my mind, because I'm like, it's this many, and I say young, I'll be 42 this year, but
really?
Yeah, it's this many
Congrats.
young, thank you. It's this many young people from all walks of life, right? And it was young, old, but I'm just looking at the young people. Like, it's this many people on fire for real estate and making a change and making a difference, right? In Oklahoma, like, I'm here for it.
Because some people you're talking to are 18, then you're talking to someone that's running a very high producing company. And I'm like, how old are you? And they're like, I'm 22. I just started, man. You're like,
right.
Wow.
Like, what?
Yeah.
But that just speaks to, to how Oklahoma is changing. And I'm excited about it. Right.
Yeah. It seems like a good culture to me.
Oh, man. And I'll be honest with you, there are people out there that, they're probably still thinking about the numbers, right? But for the most part, the people that I've met, it's bigger than that for them. Like, it's about the people. It's about, okay, how can we help people build generational wealth? And unfortunately, I wasn't able to network as much as I wanted to, because I had some other things going on. But I just thought that was an amazing event.
I thought it was an awesome panel for you all as well. That women's panel was stacked.
That was great. That was great. I loved every bit of it. I think, and I know Tez is going to continue to do great things in this city. And what I will encourage all of y'all is there are going to be people that try to stop it, but you just got to keep going, right?
Yeah.
You got to keep going, because at the end of the day, what God has for you is for you. And no man, no woman, no nothing can stop what he has planned. And so will it get hard? Yes. Will it get frustrating? Yes. Will you shed some tears? Yes. Will you want to give up? Yeah. But you got to keep going, because there's purpose behind all of it, and it's not in vain. And so I just say, continue to push through what people say is the norm, because, Oklahoma's changing. And again, I'm excited about it, and I think it definitely needs it, especially in real estate. So keep going, for sure.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Well, I wanted to ask you also on the, you had mentioned Raise, and that was a full women's panel and things like that. What are some challenges in the real estate realm or business realm that you face, not only being a woman, but being Black as well? Because there's got to be challenges.
Yeah.
Like, one is enough.
Right. Now it's double. Thank you, Lord. I appreciate it, though. So, what I have experienced, I'll speak on what I've experienced, is I've been called a lot of things, just because I had the best interest of my clients, and I fought for that. So when people work with me, they know you getting a dog. Like, I'm nice and cute and all the things, right? But when it comes to my clients, I'm making sure that they get what they want.
But those have always been my favorite conversations with a very intelligent and qualified agent. Those have been my favorite.
But you have agents that don't think that you're qualified.
Oh, 100%.
So that's definitely something that I've ran across. They don't think I'm qualified or I should be doing what I do. And I can tell it in their tone. And so I've had someone, I'm not going to say no names because they're, but I've had somebody comfort me. And respectfully, I had to let them know, hey, this is where I stand. And if you would have did your job the way that it should have been done, and kept up with what you should have been keeping up with, we wouldn't be here on closing day and me having a conversation with you telling you that the roof that you listed had not been taken care of.
Yeah, like there's always these surprises.
Yeah. And it's crazy because if I wouldn't have sent my roofer out there, then we would have went to the closing table and my client would have got a roof that was supposed to be fixed but wasn't.
Yeah, and after closing, I mean, good luck.
Yeah. So, still, think the person that came for me, I still think they're doing great things and kudos to them and continue to do what you do. But at the end of the day, I had to stand my ground and I was just like fresh in the game.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I did that because it built a kind of God confidence in me that I can do this no matter if you've been in the game for 20 years to 2 years, like you're not gonna come for me. So I've had people again, that have felt I wasn't qualified or I shouldn't be. I've dealt with that. I honestly haven't dealt with any, I would have to say like race things.
Thank goodness.
Thank God. Right. I could tell, far as looks, but for the most part, I haven't had any issues. And I think it's just how I show up. Like, I just try to make sure that I love people regardless of how they treat me or whatever. And so I think if it's your tone and how you talk to people and how you show up, then that's what you will receive. So,
well, perspective is huge for those moments because I found myself where you want to match them. And I'm like, no,
don't do it.
Because you have to take a second. You're like, what? Yeah. And now you can respectfully check something that's going on.
Yes, you can.
And get it solved. And whether that's raising tone, things like that, whatever you have to do respectfully to get it done. But once it starts getting into an argument, like, what are we doing? I was talking to Johnny, Johnny Ruffin. And she was saying like, if someone, like she had an example of someone that was blowing up on her and she was like, hey, I'm going to call you back.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's necessary. But the thing that you said that stuck out to me is that you can have that moment, but you still wish nothing but the best for them. And I think I'm coming into that now, but in the past, that was definitely not the way I thought, where I was like, well, they're a piece of crap and they should probably just live like that.
Yeah.
But it actually does mean a lot to still want well for them.
Yeah. I mean, what is the point of me wishing bad on them, or wishing their business bad?
Blocking their blessings off of just negativity.
Like, why would I do that? I just, at the end of the day, if it ever comes up to it where I can address that person and say, hey, this is how you made me feel, then I will. I haven't gotten to that point. I just wish you the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I still respect what they do in the business. And you always have to, put things into perspective. It could have been a bad day for them. Right. And so I just kind of try to think of it like that and give people grace and just, continue to do what I do and not show up like that, but show up.
That's huge though, saying that.
That's me.
Yeah. But saying like you don't know that could have just been a bad day.
It could have.
It's really crazy because you'll talk to someone after an issue like that and they may be a totally different person. And then you look and you're like, oh, they just don't have control of their emotions. Yeah. They're not necessarily a bad person, but they just really snap and can't control themselves, where I understand it's only this deep.
Yeah.
It's not this deep.
Yeah.
And
I've had somebody snap on me and I kept it real cool with them, and allowed them to kind of vent and do whatever and just spoke facts about the contract and, hey, this is what it is. And the next day they came back and apologized. So, had I have blown up with them, it probably would have been a whole nother situation.
Well, that relationship experience and sales experience that helps you do that because you're only speaking from a fact background.
Yeah.
I had an experience at Home Creations with a old school realtor, cowboy style guy. And He was the rudest realtor I ever met. And I was like, hey man, we're on the contract together. Like I'm with you. And at the time it was really bothering me, but I was able to work through it. But when I look back, I'm like, oh, that's just a reflection of them. It's not a reflection of you. Like your clients are still happy. You handled your business. I think that goes a long way.
Yeah. I think it's just important for us as real estate professionals to really just think about this. Imagine us actually working together and collaborating on this to get our clients to the closing table, right? It's not like, how hard does that have to be? Like this should be a partnership, right? Respectfully, you serve your client, I serve mine, right? Make sure both interests are being met. But for the most part, like if we just did that and looked at it as more of a partnership and a collaboration and an opportunity to help these people build generational wealth through real estate, like I think it would be so much smoother.
Well, I know you're getting strapped for time, but I just wanted to ask you, because you are always so inquisitive. Was there anything else you wanted from me? Because we don't get to meet often.
Man.
And if not, it's fine.
No, I just want you to be great and share with the people why you're doing this. That's what I want to know. Why are you right now in this moment doing this podcast? Like, what is your number one reason?
Number one, I'm always a person that my wife always laughs because she's like, that's a long answer. And it's like, it's usually how it comes out. So as far as one reason, I would just have to say, I must have got it from God in a vision or something, because it just felt right. But I had also had God speaking through people to me saying, hey, you should start this, or, hey, oh yeah, that sounded like a podcast. And it's just normal stuff of conversations with people. But I think it comes down to, earlier I mentioned how I'm working on being present. And I really appreciate those moments that I can be present, whether it's playing basketball with my friends, going to dinner with my wife, whatever it may be. And I've been able to have some really beautiful conversations with people, and it's still all new. So I would think it just comes down to that, having these present and intentional conversations. I think that's the reason I'm doing it. And it's not that I want to do it for just people. I'm like, yeah, they're just going to love this. It almost is more for me.
Yeah.
And in a respectful, positive way.
Yeah.
It's been really fulfilling to me, because I can set aside time, sit down with you for an hour, and get to have a more in-depth conversation than we've ever had. And it just means a lot to me. I think connections go a long way. And if you ask any of my friends, this is not my style.
Yeah.
This is not my style.
Yeah.
I'm more one-on-one. But a few years ago, when I started doing those coffee meetings, about 3-4 years ago, it started out on trying to get referrals.
Yeah.
Hey, realtor, if this property doesn't make sense, we'll buy it. Oh, hey, investor, if it doesn't make sense for you, we can do this. Yeah. Oh, you want to buy real estate? I'll help you. Those type of relationships. Yeah. But then I noticed everyone I met, I really enjoyed their presence. And I was like, well, maybe it'll speak to someone else.
Yeah.
Because of course this meant a lot to me. I mean, I'm almost in tears when we were getting emotional. That's going to mean something to somebody.
Yeah.
And it just feels right.
Yeah.
So I don't even have a set reason besides it just feels right. And another thing I want to shout people out for is, this is, very new, but the support I've got, from calls to texts, to people I've met out in the world. It's really nice.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I, again, appreciate you doing this. One more question.
Please.
If the listeners listening right now, they could get anything from what you're doing with Keep Going, what do you want them to take away?
I think that everyone has a story. It's very important. I think sometimes people let their trauma and their circumstance be the definition of who they are. And I just really don't believe in that, because if I would have stayed on track with how my life should or would have went, it wouldn't have been good.
Yeah.
And I think people need to understand that tough times come to push you forward. And those things that happened in the past, that childhood trauma or adulthood issues that you went through, whether it's relationships or kids or whatever it is, that doesn't have to define you for the rest of your life. And keep going resonates with me on that, because every time I've thought of quitting or giving up or anything like that, I kept going and things got better.
Yeah.
And it all started just between me and Tez.
Yeah.
We call each other all the time and just say, keep going. That's it. I mean, talk for 5 minutes, keep going, hang up, talk the next week.
Yeah.
And that's why we have it tattooed on our bodies.
Yeah.
Because it means a lot. And I think that, I guess it's honestly right on track with what you said.
Yeah.
People don't know their worth. And some people think they don't have baggage. Some people think they don't have trauma they need to work through. But me finding the great woman I did is what helped me realize the things I needed to work on, how you react to stuff, how you respond, how something makes you feel. I think it's done nothing but help me in my personal life, but really in the business life, because everything you're saying just resonates.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, take things as they are and take them to the depth that they need to be taken. Not everything has to go straight to your heart.
Yeah.
So keep going. It's just something that for anyone out there struggling, it is possible, because there's people way further along than me.
Yeah.
And there's people that are way behind.
Mm-hmm.
And the only difference between the people way behind and the people way ahead is they don't make any excuses and they keep going. So
That's good.
I appreciate you so much.
Man, I appreciate you. And I'll just say this. I definitely appreciate this opportunity. One of the things, and I know you want to go.
I don't want to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I'm not rushing you out. You're good.
One of the things I heard just from your connections with Tez and your wife, those people have made you a better version of you.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
And so I think it's important to understand the importance of surrounding yourself around people who mean good, who want to see you win, who bring out greatness in you. And you've done a great job of doing that. And the fact that, that you have been intentional with the coffee meetings, started off as one thing, right? And now it's evolved into something totally different, right? You're building these connections and these relationships with people. And I think that is so important, because you may not know it, but I'm sure those other people appreciate you taking time out of your day saying, hey, I want to meet with you. I want to hear your story, right? It meant a lot to me. And so I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you for being you. And then the other thing you talk about when I think about keep going, and just the trauma and things that people have gone through. I've been through a lot in my life, from childhood trauma to, so many other things I won't even name. We'll save it for a book. But my favorite scripture is Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work for the good of those that love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose, right? And so everything that you may feel is bad is a flaw, or something that you've been through. I strongly believe that God will work that thing out and basically allow that to help you to be the best version of yourself. And not only that, it doesn't stop there, but then also allow people to see, well, dang, if they went through that, or I remember when they were, and now they're, then I want to know what that is. And then it'll give us the opportunity to say, it wasn't nobody but God, right? I get to say that a lot now, because I didn't allow those things to stop me from being the best version of myself. And so now when people ask, how do you do what you do? It ain't me keeping a schedule in my phone or none of that.
All that.
It's not that. Everything we just talked about, and it's nobody but God. That's how I'm still going. That's how I'm doing what I'm doing. And so I'm grateful for it, and anybody I can share it with on how to get to this point, how to have this type of mindset, I'm going to do that, because this is not for me to keep in. It's for me to share. We are fishermen here on this earth, and we're placed on this earth for that reason, to share the goodness of God and what he's done for us and who he is. So who am I to not share that. Who am I to gatekeep anything? It ain't mine to gatekeep.
Yeah.
So my story is a lot of everybody else's story too. And so I share it without shame, and without fear. And so, you know,
I agree with that.
Yeah. I'm just grateful to be able to be on Keep Going. I'm grateful to know you and just know that I am proud of you and I'm wishing you the best, sir.
No, I appreciate it. And last thing I'll end on, because I think since we're on the topic, we should expand. You know, there's no levels of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's not someone's trauma is worse than someone else's.
Right.
There's definitely things that are worse. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But when I started therapy, when I started going into that as an adult, because my wife told me to, I grew up with, I don't even know what anxiety is. Mm-hmm. That sounds like someone that's got too much money and too many fake problems to me. Yeah. Like, and it sounds funny, but it's the truth. Like the only people I knew with anxiety drove Benzes at my school.
Yeah.
Like, you have anxiety? What's your problem? But then you get older and you think, oh, well, what was their home life like and all of that? And you can go down that rabbit hole. But on the therapy side, I just always wanted to minimize everything. Mm-hmm. And I had a great life. I had a loving mother, single parent household. My dad was still around. I had lovely grandparents. Never got beat up. None of that. Had a very good upbringing. But there were things that happened. And I minimized them all because of respect. I respected my mother. So anything that was negative, and just, I didn't give it any thought. Yeah. I respected my father. So the flaws I didn't want to take. And when I went to therapy, that was something they spoke of, is I was just too, like, not too respectful, but I was just so respectful on trying to verbalize it, I guess. To where I almost wasn't giving myself the correct space to let it out.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I had this, and it's not that big a deal. Yeah. But then I sat there and I listened to all these people's story from 22 years old to 75 years old in this group. And that'll give you perspective, because then you've got someone that's in their 60s that says, yeah, I should really be painting because that's something I like to do. But he says that for 5 days. I'm like, bro, you're 60 and you can't just go paint one day? I'm like, I never want to be that. But not in a negative to him. I want him to be the best version of himself. Yeah. But no, I need to stand up for myself. And that stuff really helped me. Yeah. But like I said, growing up, like anxiety, therapy, talking about something like therapy for me was riding my bicycles with my friends for 8 hours. Yeah. Like that was therapy. But as I got older, I realized that those things are good to talk through and also good to learn from and not hold you back. There's some people that want to say, I came from nothing and I'm staying there. Yeah. Because they want to eat a bad diet and ingest a bad mental diet and not have core values. Yeah. But for those people the people I know that are the best people I know, they've had some rough life. Yeah. And they're the nicest, most genuine, loving people I know. And that motivates me to keep going. Yeah. Because how can they deal with that and not be better than me? But I'm saying, like, that's how I like to see it. I'm like, how can they be worse off than me and better than me in that? Like, how can they take that? Yeah. And it comes from not minimizing it. Yeah. Speaking about it, healing from it, and just making it okay. And I think this has helped a lot because I've had friends and family at different points in my life that have given me moments like you're giving me where it means a lot. Yeah. I remember when I first started doing the therapy stuff, my mom was like, and I'm not trying to embarrass her, but because I'm a mama's boy, that's my girl, but it's the truth. She's like, you're not in there talking bad about me, are you? Aww. And I'm like, damn, like, I'm not. But I got to tell the truth.
I got to talk my truth. Yeah.
But it's all respect. It's all love. There's a lot of stuff that means a lot to me. I'm an emotional guy. Yeah. And when I was growing up, it was somewhat frowned upon. Yeah. And as I've gotten older, it's kind of been my superpower. Yeah. So that's where I am. But I really appreciate your time. You're great. And thank you for being not only intentional with your responses, but talking with me as well. Yeah. I always love when the guests ask me some things to make me expand a little more. Because I have these conversations with folks, but it's nice to have to dig deep sometimes.
I love that. I love that because I mean people want to hear you too. So we definitely need it, and I appreciate it.
Well, I'm probably gonna have to force you to episode 2 in the future.
I will say yes.
But last thing I'll say is congrats on this, because I met you 3 years ago and you were hustling more on the realtor side only. Mm-hmm. And now you're like opening your own brokerage. We're speaking at an event together, which is a blessing in itself. And while we're at the event, you're like, yep, I'm doing this investing in lots. Your husband's involved. Your kids are going to college. You've got such a good thing going. And I feel very blessed. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart, that I know people like you.
Yeah.
Because not only for me, but it just gives me hope for the world around us.
Yeah. Anything is possible. Like I said, a year ago, this was not even on my mind, but God said something different. So anything is possible if you just keep going. You believe in who you serve and you believe in what he can do through you. There's no limit. Like, I just don't believe anymore. I used to say the sky's the limit. That's not even the limit for me.
My friend said the sky, or shoot for the moon, but then past the moon is the stars. And it meant a lot to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Well, we appreciate you, Auntie.
Yay. Thank you. There you go.
Keep going.
Keep going.